Hello there. Welcome to the Future Founders Fireside Chat podcast series, The Journey. This series features weekly discussions about virtual reality, emerging immersive technologies, and entrepreneurship from the 2018 Future Founders VR Fellowship, sponsored by the City of Seattle's Office of Economic Development and produced by SIXR. The purpose of this podcast is to learn about the journey that it takes folks to enter the world of VR technologies and entrepreneurship. We hope to create an engaging conversation around emerging technologies in Seattle. This is episode 5, featuring Ander Bergstrom and CJ Markham of Mocap Now, a state-of-the-art motion capture studio in Georgetown, South Seattle. Both Ander and CJ have Oscars and Emmys among their many awards for their cutting-edge motion capture. The two are interviewed by Future Founder VR Fellows Jakari Brown and Beverly Ahrens at Mocap Now. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jakari. Welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you guys here. So glad that you guys invited me to your space and my fellow classmate and Booty. You know we love you. So basically this is just a podcast for us to figure out, we're interested in finding out people's journey and what you guys, the challenges and all the great things that you guys have faced in your journey to become you working in VR or, VR developers or in the craft that you guys are. So this is why we're doing this podcast. And so thanks for joining our podcast today. How's your guys' day going so far? Oh, introduction. Yeah, my bad. I'm asking introduction.
Cool.
So you first, my man.
All right. My name's CJ Markham. I've been in the games industry for 16 years now. Worked on several titles. Let's see, starting with, I worked at a couple games that didn't really see the light of day, but then got my big break in 2005 when I worked on the film King Kong. After that, worked at Sony in San Diego on Killzone Liberation, what else? Lair, and then Warhawk. Yep. And then after that, moved to London, worked at Rockstar Games in London. Whoa. On GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne 3. And then in 2010, moved to the Seattle area to work for Microsoft on Halo 4 and Halo 5.
Okay.
So, and then after Halo 5, decided to give starting a company a try, and so that's where we are now with Mocap Now.
Mm-hmm. And these are both founders of the Mocap, just to put that in the podcast. Now on to the next co-founder, my man.
Yeah, my name is Ander Bergstrom. I'll go back a little further than just when I started. It'll kind of become apparent. I have a degree in theater, so I have a 4-year bachelor's, New York State. What? All the theater folks give it up. But so I'm really into performance, and I'm really, really into amazing stories and words and text. And Shakespeare is kind of like a huge teacher for me. Anyway, so I did that, but I left college not quite understanding what I was going to do with this, and then it caught my eye. Animation caught my eye. Like CG animation is like Toy Story was coming out. I think Monsters was like the one that came out, Monsters Inc. And so I got into a grad program in Rochester called RIT, School of Film and Animation. I got my master's, my MFA for 3 years. Went out to San Diego, got a job at Sony where he was working. But we just kind of missed each other. Like, I got there a little earlier, but then he arrived, and I went off to Australia to go work on Happy Feet. So I lived in Sydney, Australia, working on that film. George Miller was the director. Came back, worked in L.A. for a little bit. There's a number of boutique cinematic animation houses, because we're animation folk. So everything is like, film animation, game animation. But almost all of it was involving somehow motion capture, all of it. So Happy Feet, motion capture. I worked in some cinematic houses that make cinematics for games. Like Microsoft doesn't always do all the work. They hire people out. So I worked at Blur Studio for a year. And then I worked at Midway. So Midway, we were working on like a bunch of wrestling games, and they did things like Blitz, and they did things like Mortal Kombat. My director for the studio I was in Sal DeVita, he worked very closely on like Mortal Kombat titles with Ed Boon, who kind of like was the creative director for all those things in Chicago. But I was in San Diego working on those things, and then Midway went collapsed under their own weight of bad management. I worked on THQ, a lot more fighting games. They're doing UFC, UFC 3, UFC 4, WWE All-Stars, which was kind of like a fun arcade wrestling game. And then after that, got pulled up here to work at Microsoft on the Xbox One basically as a producer at Microsoft. And then after that, I just basically fell in with CJ, and I'm like, I think we really, really should combine our forces, Voltron this thing together, and start Mocap Now. And here we are.
Hey, yeah. My man. Yeah, but a great thing you guys do have. I was just listening to you guys go off the things that you guys were just naming. I'm going to be totally clean. I lost my next question, and I just had completely just fanned out. Like, I had a completely fan moment. Like, at least half the games you guys or projects you guys just said, I am a personal user and have personal experiences with. Yeah. And to even just hear that, like, the places that you guys went to and traveled to go to, chasing your guys' dreams and what you love or what you're passionate about, to go to these, like, I would have never known Happy Feet was filmed in Australia. Yeah. And you had said you had moved to, I can't super recall.
New Zealand for King Kong.
Yeah, New Zealand.
And then London for
Rockstar.
And London, like, I'm super domestic. I've never been out of the country. That's why I'm just like,
give it time, man.
Yeah, progress. But it's a steep hill. I'm going up, hopefully. But yeah, I'm just that, like, that's.
So what got them started?
Oh yeah, what got you? Yeah, so what all in your life? What brought you? What brought you to, like, making the decision that you wanted to pursue this path that you guys is pursuing?
First,
yeah, go ahead.
So when I was really little, say 6, 7, 8 years old, I wanted to be a whole handful of different things. I didn't know motion capture existed. I don't even think it existed at the time.
No.
And I wanted to be a puppeteer, mostly. I really dug puppeteering from Jim Henson, all the things I've seen they do. And
the Creature Shop
stuff. I love the old school Creature stuff. I wanted to be an actor at one point. I wanted to be a fine artist. I do a lot of painting and drawing, but I was also really passionate about video games. I loved video games as well. And so I had all these different passions. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it all. Like, I didn't know what, I couldn't really make up my mind. And it, and I also wanted to be a cartoonist as well. Like, I was really into cartoons and animation. So, I think I devoted a lot more time into fine art. But then by the time I graduated high school, a couple of years out of high school, not really knowing what I'm going to do with my life, decided, I tried to pursue my fine art, and I saw very quickly I was becoming sort of a starving artist. That fine art was really not really taken off as well as I hoped, and so I decided, well, what if I just convert my fine art skills into commercial art skills? So I enrolled into a for-profit school for computer animation. Got my bachelor's in media arts and animation degree, and well, it was funny actually. Before, rewind a little bit. Before I did that, I was living in Southern California, and this was before I went to college. I actually showed up at the doorstep of Blizzard Entertainment, knocked on the door and said, "Hey, I want a job as an artist."
I've seen that come up before. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I've seen that come up, like, when you're starting a game and you're like, that's a game, video game, right?
Yeah.
World of Warcraft.
Yep. Blizzard.
World of Warcraft.
So they make World of Warcraft. They make
Diablo,
StarCraft. They make Diablo. Those are the games they make.
They're all a bunch of PC games.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I haven't played World of Warcraft, but I think there's a sneaky game like they strictly only make PC games because I swear I've heard that, seen that come up in like one of those little boxes.
They do card games, so they do they do a lot of different stuff. So they do Heroes of the Storm, which is more like a fighting game, and they also do like the card thing. Was it Hearthstone?
Hearthstone, yeah.
Hearthstone, and it's a card game where you. So yeah, they got games.
Probably seen it. Anyway, my bad.
This was 19. When was this? 1999, early 1999.
Yeah, when dinosaurs were traveling.
I knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'd like to apply for an artist position." And the first question they said was, "Well, do you have a degree?" No, I don't have a degree. They're like, "Well, do you want to apply for a QA job?" Mm-hmm. Because I was really into video games. Yeah, sure. So they give me a test, and it's like a lot of the questions in our tests are like, what's the Konami code? What's what's a cheat for getting unlimited lives in Mario Brothers? Like they ask like all these sort of like gamer questions that only like hardcore gamers will know. Of course, with the Mario one, it's you trap the turtle by the staircase and you keep jumping on it until you get extra lives over and over and over again. And you get a million lives that way. But
what?
There's all sorts of.
All them nights I did. Okay, that's different. My bad.
But anyway, it was just this questionnaire that just kind of like went through a bunch of gaming, and I failed it. I mean, I didn't, or at least I just didn't score enough to get the game tester role. But they said, look, if you really want to be an artist, they said like it's hard to kind of get your way into the art side of game development from being a tester. Your best bet is to go and get a degree. Go get a degree, come back, reapply again, and we'll consider you. And so it's all right. Well, I guess I just got to go get a degree. And that's when I enrolled in school for an animation degree, and then. Never applied at Blizzard ever again. Oddly enough.
That's a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
But see, I did it the other way around because I went off to get a degree thinking that was the right way to do it. And then my first job was as a tester.
Oh, yeah.
Because I went to Sony and they were just hiring people. This is in San Diego, same spot. He was. I was 30, living in my parents' house with my kid and my wife. She had a job. She was a teacher, so she had a job. And I was just like, man, pressure's on here. Okay, I got I spent a lot of money on this MFA, so I went out to Sony and it's a funny thing. I mean, we're talking about VR, but there's no way to avoid games like video games with us, right? Because that's kind of like
connected.
Because all the tech you're using now is developed by game studios, all of it. Mm-hmm. Now some of the things have been like improved upon for VR and everything, but almost everything is all got its roots.
Like Unity and
Unreal and everything all came. Those are video game engines. They used to cost $1 million if you wanted to use it, but now it's free, which is kind of a bit of a genius on their part. They make money other ways now. But when I first started, I went to Sony, and it was a room full. So you gotta understand what testing is. Testing is they sit you in a room with a bunch of other people, different qualities of folks. Some people had been there for a long time, and this was their gig, and had no interest in doing anything else. Didn't want to get out. This was their thing. And there was like people like me and a whole range of different folks. But what happened was everyone goes, "Oh, game testing. So I get to play a video game for the summer. That's cool." That's not what this is. Because what they do is they go, you're going to play Wayne Gretzky 2005 1,800 times over the next 6 months, and you can play the same game over and over again. You can try and break it. And so your job is to break it and play the same features over and over again and just get it to figure out where it goes wrong, where it doesn't work. And I remember the first time I was there, I knew what the job was, so I wasn't under any illusions. I was just there to work. But I remember this young guy comes in, and he was, this is going to be awesome. I'm like, okay. And then day 2, middle of the day, just before lunch, I'll never forget this. He stands up, looks around, holds up his controller in his hand, and he goes, how do you do this anymore? I can't do this. You people are crazy. I can't do this all summer. Throws his controller out, walks right out the door. And I think over the next couple of weeks right after that, we lost like half of the people. But that happens every time. It's a hard job. Because you don't even have to, for game testing, you got to play that thing over and over again. Then you have to be able to have the ability to reproduce it and write it down. When I did this and did that and did this other thing, whole game crashes. And so you have to be able to reproduce it. You have to almost have like a masochistic mindset where all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to play this again. Something happened. I don't know what it was. Oh, there it is. What did I just do? Play back the tape because you record it. And then from there, they had a mocap studio at Sony, and they wanted people to just like process the data. So I got a raise from $9 an hour to $12 an hour. I'm in the money, baby. Baby, I made it. I made it. We're going to Sizzler.
Put away the Pizza Hut. We're going to Lobster.
Yeah. But that was when I got into all this stuff. And I think the interesting question is why? Because it's almost like stepping into Star Trek. It's almost like the only place in the entire digital world that's flesh and bone that is captured and somehow impressed upon like an indelible digital image at the end of the day, right? It's the only place. Because you could create stuff and you could sit very tightly at your computer and make these things move and the box move, the robot moves and stuff. But we get to have talented flesh and blood men and women come in and apply their craft, and all we have to do is just capture it. Just make sure we're there, set up properly, directed them, given them what they need to know. They just do their thing, and then that goes into the game. And so it's like the holodeck, you know. We get to be the holodeck, and I'll speak for myself. I don't like to sit at a desk all day.
Yeah.
I like to be up and about, right? So I came from right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, as a child, that like I had all these different ambitions, and puppeteering, art, acting, animation, and when I finally fell into motion capture, I realized, wow, this is a combination of all of those things, all into one, all rolled into one. This was my dream job. It just didn't exist yet. I didn't know it existed at the time.
Yeah, and I was also thinking, thanks for everything you guys shared. Those are
good.
Both two amazing stories, for real. I got, like, mad questions to ask. Like, I can't even, it'll take us, like, 5 hours.
What about, you mentioned that you were in theater.
Yeah.
Yes, also, and before you, just real quick, if you don't mind, just before, or if this is something you guys could maybe disclose, I was looking at your guys' company name is Mocap
Now.
Mocap Now.
Mocap Now. Okay.
Not later. Not tomorrow.
Right now.
Now.
Okay, because that's dope. Because I was thinking, because the product that you guys are selling in your business is motion capture. So I'm like, that wasn't a patented thing like Mocap, because that's a brilliant name for the business that you guys are in. Like, it's super duper self-explanatory, like Mocap Now.
That's what we all call it. I mean, if you were to talk to, our community, our tiny little community, there's like 40 people, and we all either know each other like personally. Like, I slept on his couch, and I almost dated his sister, and I threw up all over that guy. Or we're, like, one step away from it. It's not a huge community. And so everybody just calls it Mocap. It's just a short thing. It is kind of funny. You don't see a lot of studios that call it Mocap anything.
We went with Mocap Now to kind of symbolize our speed and how fast we can turn around captured data, because a lot of times there's a good considerable sort of time delay between when you can capture something and have it delivered.
And when you want to play with it.
Yeah, so we strive to have fast delivery, and that's kind of
where do you see yourself in the VR, AR space? Like, how do you see Mocap operating in that space now?
Well, how much time do you have? I don't have a Manhattan in front of me, so it'll take a while. my personal feeling is that we talked a little bit about this before we started the podcast. But I really, really think that VR is a unique experience. If VR is theater, okay? Theater is one of the rawest... You're giving me that look.
Because you and I know, we've talked about
this.
We've talked one of the reasons it's so attractive to me also.
We've talked about this, but theater I believe theater in its most primitive form is the first primary art form. I don't have paints. I don't have a canvas necessarily, but I got people and I'm trying to explain something. And it started off, I was in the woods gathering something, and then a thing happened. I got to get back to my people and explain the bears are over there, not over there, or the other people across the river seem kind of cool, but I'm trying to describe this. The beliefs, the stories, we all have family stories. Those stories are passed down, and in my family, no one tells a story without standing up and acting something out. Mm-hmm. Right, and I think everybody here knows somebody or has somebody or is that person. Right? So theater is I believe, because I like the sound of it, but I think it's true to a large degree, the primary art form. All I have is my body, so I'm going to tell a story with it. Film is an interesting manipulation of image. But you only see if it's any good or she's any good, exactly what that director wanted you to see. You're being manipulated. It is not your choice. You're watching that Silence of the Lambs, you're going to see that dude eat the guy's face. You can't turn away, otherwise you're not watching the movie anymore. Yeah. So you're going to, or Feel the Dreams. He's going to hit that baseball.
My bad.
No.
But the emotion. I was, like, in drama class.
Well, let him finish his statement.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Because we're interviewing them. So
my bad.
No, but the thing about it is connection. So you can relate to people on a screen, but when you're in live theater, and this goes back to VR, it goes forward into VR, live theater, you have a connection with somebody. I can look into your eyes, acknowledge your presence. What's the best way to make someone feel awful in a social situation? What's the most effective
Turn your
way?
back on them.
You ignore them. Yeah. You do not acknowledge their presence. They could be putting their hand up. I got a question. They may be trying to get your attention. If you do not acknowledge them, they are socially a dead person. Theater makes you feel alive because there's this interplay. In film, there's no interplay. Television, there's no direct interplay. VR, like live theater, has an opportunity, if it's done right, for that direct acknowledgement and interplay. Notice I'm not talking about technology and pixels and shadow and that kind of anything. I'm talking about I'm in the VR space. She looks at me. She nods at me like she's nodding at me right now. I acknowledge that nod. I raise my little glass, and we're having a moment.
Yeah.
It's finding a way, whether I'm a big yellow bird and she's an amorphous triangle, in an interesting shade of blue. But if we're able to somehow negotiate a moment that's real, like a real human thing, that's powerful. And that's communicative. Mm-hmm. That goes beyond... I sat at a table... This is going to sound like a name drop, but it's not. But it's the first thing that came up in my head. I sat at a table with Jet Li once, and he does not speak a lot of good English. So I was working on a game at Sony, and it was the wrap party, and he's sitting where you're sitting right there. And all he did was, because he doesn't drink, he lifted up a glass of orange juice, and he just gave me a little toast. And I was like, God damn, that's Jet Li. But we didn't have to have language. We just had to have that gesture. So all of this goes forward from me. And I think the genius of what CJ does is he employs all of the technology to try and bend it towards all of the expression we have day in and day out with each other, just live as we all are right now, and trying to figure out how to make that happen in this VR space that can transcend distance, transcend language, transcend a lot of things that kind of get in our way. That's exciting. And to me, that's theater. I'm done. I got nothing else more to say.
No.
And what are your thoughts on that, Steve?
Oh, no, I got to follow that. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, like, for me, as an animator, like, I tended to, as I had a very keen sense of artistic expression, and, more than anything, I wanted to be able to express myself. And I got into, and I know we're talking a lot about games and other things outside of the VR realm, but really, it was this need and want to express myself. And so I was able to sort of learn the things I learned in school for animation to be able to express, storytell using a animated character and showing emotion through that. Essentially acting, except not physically acting, using my mind to make a digital character act, to evoke emotion, and it wasn't all sort of good times through my career. In fact, the first couple experiences I had in the game industry were very rocky. In fact, the first game company that I worked at just out of school, I worked there for 2 years and got to a point where I was just about to ship the first game. And in fact, just to take it a step further, so I started the company, this first game company I worked at, as a paid intern. Mm-hmm. I was making $24,000 a year. It was pretty low for Southern California, and my boss told me, okay, we're going to hire somebody above you to kind of mentor you and help you, progress and get better at the craft. And so I was like, yeah, cool, great. I'd love to have a mentor. This sounds great. I think it was a good, probably 6 months past. I'd already, I already completed about 4 or 5 characters for the game. And they were getting to a point where they started to do the main characters of the game. So I was working on NPCs, and they hired a lead animator to be above me and one other paid intern animator. And turns out, and this was all keyframe animation. None of this was motion capture. But the guy they had hired above us was a motion capture artist. He hadn't had any experience with animation. And the game we were currently working on was a keyframe animated game. There wasn't any motion capture. But he came in and he kind of threw his weight around saying, oh, well, this needs to be better, this needs to be better, critiquing our work. And we took it with a grain of salt. Yeah, okay, cool. But then almost, within a couple days, we started seeing some awkward things. Like he would call us like after work and say, hey, I'm trying to get this character to move, and I keep keyframing him and nothing happens. I scroll through the timeline and nothing's sticking. And I'd say, well, is your keyframe button on? There's like a specific button that in 3D Studio Max, if it wasn't activated in red, it didn't set keys. Apparently he didn't know this, and that's kind of like the first thing you learn in animation school. So almost immediately, a lot of red flags kind of went up. Like, who is this guy? Why is he my leader if he doesn't even know how to keyframe? And weeks went by, and I started seeing some of his work, and I noticed there was a lot of core principles of animation that just he didn't really adhere to, like weight, timing, things that are anticipation, things that are like every animator learns in school, and something getting low. Anyway, it was one day. He was showing off some work that he did to the art director, and I kind of looked over his shoulder to see what he was showing, and he was showing one of the main characters in the game. But I noticed very quickly that this main character's animation looked exactly like the animation I had done for another NPC earlier on. And it like, not just exactly, but the exact same animation. In 3D Studio Max, there's a way to open up a file, any animation file, save out the actual animation data, and then apply that to a different character. And that's what he had done. He had opened up my animations, saved out the animation file, and loaded them on his character, and tried to pass that off as his to the art director. And it was actually when I didn't. The funny thing was I was just working with my headphones on, and I heard the art director saying, "Oh, that looks really good." I'm like, what? He's doing something that looks really good? I gotta see this.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, it was, wait. And I called him out on it. That's my animation. You stole my animation and put it on your character. And at first he denied it. And I'm like, no, I know, because I can see the finger, keyframes I did, and
like I did
some like specific key things that I can tell that were mine. And finally he kind of, it's motion animation's animation. I can just load it from wherever and use it whatever. Everything's reusable. Like, that's not how this works. You can't just steal other people's animation and then claim it as your own. So I ended up talking to the art director, and so the art director said, all right, well, we'll get to the bottom of this. And so he had myself and the other animator render out every single animation we did for the whole game, for every character, and load them all into a file on the network so that they can review it. Same with this lead animator. They had him do the same thing. And that night, the art director and the CEO reviewed every animation for the entire game. And the next day I came in, and by the time I came in, the lead animator was already fired. They basically said, look, you have no talent, just get out.
Everything's copied and pasted.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So they brought me in. They said, look, we're really sorry. It looks like he had stolen. We found several of his animations were identical to the other animations he did for this other character months ago before he had been hired. And we realized that he was in the wrong, and he was stealing your work. But also, in reviewing everybody's work, we decided we want to make you the senior animator.
Oh,
wow!
And we want you to work with the other animators to kind of get their work better. And so I was like, oh, okay. And does this come with a raise? So they gave me a little raise, but it was good. It was kind of the first sort of hint I had that, okay, maybe I'm cut out for this. Maybe this is where I need to be. And so they also assigned me all the main characters of the game. So I then began working on all 4 of the main characters for the game. And I think all in all, I animated 4 main characters and 17 NPCs for the game. Is it okay? Is it? Okay. But then by the end of that same company, one day, actually, I had a little bit of forewarning. Someone from the VP of development from the publisher who was publishing the game had made many stops to check everyone's work, check the progress of the game, and he one day he brought me into a separate room and said, well, why do all the animations look like crap? Why do they look so bad? And I'd explain to him, well, it's actually a lot of it, and actually I showed him on my PC renders of the original animations and how good they looked, and explained like a lot of reasons why they look horrible in the game is because the way they're getting chopped up and processed in post, and there was a lot of other explanations. But then he asked me, well, by the end of that, he asked me, so how do you feel about working in New Jersey? And at the time, I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't really thought about New Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey Shore.
But 2 weeks later, that the publisher pulled the plug on the project, and the company laid everybody off, myself included. So next day I didn't have a job, and I realized at that point, okay, he was trying to recruit me before they laid everybody off. And so a couple weeks went by, and then I got a phone call from the publisher in New Jersey saying, hey, you want to come interview for the lead animator position? So I said, sure. And so, because it was the only thing going for me, I was applying everywhere at the time, wasn't getting any callbacks. But So I took the job and ended up moving to New Jersey. And this was when I was in Southern California at the time. So I actually, when I left to go start my first day, this was December 3rd. You heard of this story?
Yeah.
December 3rd, 2003. I was supposed to show up for my first day of work. And so it was end of November, actually just after Thanksgiving. I packed up everything in my car, got my girlfriend in the car, my pet snake, like literally everything in my truck. Drove 5 days from Southern California to New Jersey, all the way across the country. Showed up for my first day of work, parked the car in the parking lot, went in for the first day of work, said, "Hey, I'm here to work." And lady at the front desk says, "Oh, great, what's your name?" CJ. "Okay, what were you hired for?" "Oh, I was hired for the lead animator on this project." "Oh, okay. That project's been canceled. And the guy leading the project was let go 2 days ago." So, yeah. Well, I just moved here from California. I drove 5 days to get here. I'm here with all my stuff in the back of a truck. They're like, "Sorry. Well, I was hired as an lead animator. You guys made, here's my contract that I signed and my offer letter and everything." And I said, "Well, okay, well, how about, what were you hired as again?" "Lead animator." "Well, can you animate flying logos?" It's like, sure, I guess I can try and do flying logos. So I ended up working on like a flying logo for the company for like a month. Meanwhile, I'm sending my resume out to other companies to try and get something else, anything else. And so, yeah, like it was a really rocky start in my industry, but in my career. But the third job came about because this was the publisher, and they had other developers. They had two other developers. One in Texas called Terminal Reality, who did Blood Rain 1 and Blood Rain 2. At the time, they were working on Blood Rain 2.
Yep.
And another one in Utah, making a game called Advent Rising. And I thought, well, okay, this is better than flying logos. So I said, okay, well, here's my resume. Here's my reel. Can you just, show them to these companies and see, what they think. At the same time, I was with another guy who had actually was a level designer. He was working at the company I worked at when we all got laid off. He was in the same position I was, except his was level design. They had hired him to do level design, and he was in the exact same position I was. And they did the same thing for him. They sent his resume and demo reel to those two companies. And he came out of the meeting after they had sent all his work, and he said, "Hey, I got a severance check for $5,000. I'm out. I'm going." I'm like, "Wow, cool. I want that too. What happened?" They're like, "Well, none of the companies wanted me, so they just gave me a check, and now I'm gone." Cool. Okay, I hope that happens to me. And then I go in and say, "Okay, well, both of the companies want you, so now you got to make a decision." I'm like,
"Whoa!
I just wanted a check."
Now you got options.
I think the sum up is that the at least for games and everything like that, it's never a straight line.
Yeah.
It's never a straight line. So you basically, and it's such a Wild West environment. VR studios are still kind of new, but it's almost the same people. Like all the people who are in games are now in VR making games, but it is kind of a bit of a Wild West kind of mentality. It has been for a long time, So the industry, I want to say it's getting better. I don't know if it is.
Telltale Games.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to be talking about VR, but we're talking a lot about it.
Great conversation. This is
There's also Big Fish.
Big Fish? What's that?
Oh, Big Fish?
Big Fish, Telltale.
Oh, Big Fish
went down recently?
Not went down, but they fired a bunch.
Fired a bunch? Oh.
Yeah, so the problem is that if you look at like the film industry, all the big blockbuster films are made with visual effects, right? And without those visual effects artists, those films would not be blockbusters. They'd just be a bunch of green screens and actors, highly, highly, highly paid actors and green screens behind them, and none of this stuff. Any Marvel film has got probably more CG than actual live action in it than anything else. So, but none of those, and when you stay and you watch those after credit extra little pieces in there, you know, there'll be 2 or 3 of those, maybe even 4 of those. But you watch the credits and you see like people, person after person, almost like black
walls of text.
Yeah, walls of text. None of those people have any job security at all. And on the flip side, like, it's really cool to live in Sydney, Australia for a bit, but then you got to move to maybe Montreal, and then you got to move to London, or then maybe someplace in Prague, and then you got to go to Singapore. So after a while, you kind of get over the fact that, oh man, I get to go to those countries. You're just gonna go, I gotta go to another goddamn country. And I want a family. I want to have kids. I want to have a relationship that is either she better be in the industry, and she better be cool with not seeing me for 6 months because I gotta go. And it's happening again. So that's dangerous because they will just drive those people into the ground and burn them out. And then in video games, Telltale Games, making really great narrative-based stories. I know they made was it The Wolf Among Us?
They made the
Walking Dead.
They're doing Walking Dead, and they had another episodic one called, I think, The Wolf Among Us. But either one of those was, you know,
the Lego games too.
Oh, yeah, the Lego.
Lego Star Wars.
They did the Lego. That was them too. I thought it was TT. So
Lego stuff.
Again, it's like the whole key, I think, is you have to be really clear about why you're doing what you're doing. You can't go, oh, I want to work for Pixar. I want to work for Lucasfilm. I want to work for, name any company. You really have to be deeply rooted in why you're doing it and what you want to get out of it, and make sure you're aligned that way, because companies are companies. They're going to come and go or change or need you or not need you, you know, and so you can't hang your heart. It's not... It's not the old days where you get a job, you're at that job for 25 years, 35 years, you retire, go watch the whole thing. That doesn't happen, not in this industry. Mm-hmm. So you have to go follow your passion and be really clear about what that is. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a company. Your passion isn't a company. Right. It's an idea. It's a creative impulse, you know. It's not who you are.
And your country. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Mm-hmm. Just conversation.
We'll go forever.
But, yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I know she was going to grab me by the neck, like.
Jump on the grenade.
But,
That's what you said.
Yeah, I did.
But like you were saying, going to, like, VR or even these companies, like, it's just your, like, say, like, you have to know, like, even GTA or me even saying I would like to incorporate 2K and the VR into 2K, sports, basketball. It would be dope it would probably sound good for me to be like, yeah, I just want to work on 2K, make it VR. But to actually be like, no, I would love to make 2K VR so people can feel this immersive experience of actually sweating or, getting a workout and actually feeling like what it's like to actually form your shot, or just all these different things and different aspects that actually make, I'm not sure if immersive is the right word, but like that actually make things, you know what I'm saying? Like virtual reality and make it more realistic and lifelike. So, yeah, both of your guys' explanations were, and you super helped me too also because, sorry, I'm going a little bit off.
Yeah, but we need to.
Yeah, no, I'm going right back. I just gotta say, because you helped me, because you guys were saying, like, right now I'm learning VR and we're going through school, and even today, like, every day is a super duper challenge, like, to the point where, like, I super, like, wanted to give up, and I'm just starting. I didn't even get to the point of, like, where you got to.
How did you, did you
that's a great question.
Have a point where you wanted to give up?
Oh my god!
Oh
my god!
Oh god!
I need more beer. No, I think hell yes.
Yeah.
First of all, coming from my background, I come from an acting background, and I would get really stressed out because I would take a look at everything from like a theatrical perspective, and there was nobody else in the room who understood what the hell I was talking about. I mean, they thought it was cool, but there was nobody out there like me. And I would just sit there going, is there somebody I can speak to who understands what I'm talking about from my perspective? Now, to be totally clear, middle-aged white guy. I'm not oppressed. I don't have that kind of thing. But from my personal perspective, I mean, and in the game industry, I am surrounded by a bunch of white dudes. Not even white women or any woman. In fact, usually it's just a bunch of 50 guys in a building. Not healthy. White or otherwise, it doesn't matter about that. But I kept going, where's me? Where's the other me? There's no other me. And I wanted to do these things, and so I had to learn a different language. Communication-wise, I had to deal with engineers. I'm not an engineer. I had to learn how to speak their language and not freak them out because it's a completely different personality type. No value judgment, just different. And it changes so often, and it's so easy to get caught up in the software. Like, I'm going to learn everything about Unity. I'm going to become a Unity guru. I'm going to know everything. It'll change. It'll change on you. Just wait. So if you tie yourself to software, like know it, understand it, use it, but don't make it your thing. Make the vision your thing, right? Make the idea. Forget 2K, but keep the idea how you want to make basketball immersive. Because 2K is going to work on that, whatever. But if you can do it better, or you can come up with like the essence of it somehow, they'll come calling anyway. They'll find you. So, yeah, I have had a lot of time. And then just the layoffs. I was in 2 studios. Not only just laid off, but the whole company collapsed twice. I was starting to worry it was my fault. I'm in a company like 400 people. I'm like, I'm the albatross. I'm the reason why. But Midway and THQ both collapsed. And that makes you really kind of like, what? My wife is like, when are you going to get a job that just... What else would I do? Go be an actor? That's real stable. It's more stable doing this, honestly, right now than it is anything else. Yeah, I've wanted to give up a bunch of times. Not now, but definitely in the past. And so you have to be real clear with yourself as a why. The why, not the what. The what is informed by the why. If you have no why, you're just doing things, that's McDonald's. That's just working at Starbucks slinging coffee, right? Because you need money, you got to make money. That's living. But the why gives meaning to everything. If you can corral that and concentrate on that, that's going to be your compass. Do this, don't do that. Take this job, don't take that job. Study these things. That's not important, The why will drive you, but it's like you can't have strategy without a goal. Strategy without a goal is just you trying to do big things and move big things around, but with no aim. But if you set your goal, your strategy is informed by that, and then the tactics of what you do every day to get that shit done.
Well, yeah. yeah.
But it's the why. So you have to be really clear. And it's hard. It's easy to lose track. I have.
What about you, CJ? Ever felt like giving up? How did you keep going?
Yeah, in fact, after shipping Halo 4, there was a good lull between Halo 4 and Halo 5 where about a year went by and nothing happened. And a lot of people in that time dropped out, took other jobs, and myself included. I was very, very tempted to just go because, in fact, I feel like the last 2 years I was at Microsoft were 2 years that were too many. I was already sort of almost checked out before that, it was. I mean, the
So Microsoft was off your path. It was a detour.
Yeah, like I felt like, I mean, Halo 4 was amazing. I really enjoyed being on Halo 4. But by the time Halo 4 had shipped, the dynamic of the company had changed significantly. Like 343 specifically was the company. It was the branch of Microsoft that developed Halo. And they were a very close niche, sort of almost indie, sort of like early game development company. When I first got on board, I was employee number 70, and so it was, with 70, 80 people, it was still a very close, development Like it felt like a smaller company. But by the time we shipped Halo 4, I think it was 300 plus employees. And so it quickly turned into this machine. And you kind of lose track of who's who, and you see a bunch of faces and you don't know their names. It went from like knowing everybody to knowing a small portion of them. And a lot of people that were there back when there was 70 people had left. So there's probably about 30 people that I originally knew from when I started to when I shipped Halo 4. And so, by the time Halo 5 really kicked off in development, it got even they hired even more people, and it got even less sort of invested in the other people and the development and a lot of the things that were going on. And so it was good. I had my wife there because she kind of kept me focused. She definitely didn't want me to quit. She talked me out of quitting on several occasions. But yeah, and with the expressed goal of starting my own company eventually. That was kind of my light at the end of the tunnel. Every company I interviewed with, you hear the typical job interview questions. So where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? And a lot of people don't really have an answer for that. Oh, well, I guess I see myself here. I always had an answer, and I didn't care what anyone thought of my answer, because it was always honest. I would tell people, I'm going to have my own company. And I'm going to make cool stuff. That's where I'm going to be. And the good companies would say, okay, cool, that's good, that's ambitious. Other companies are like, yeah, good luck with that. But I meant it every time I was asked that. In fact, it was in 2007 when Rockstar asked me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I said, I'm going to have my own company. And, we started this, 2015?
Yeah, so this February, March is 2019 would be end of year 3.
And it was 2010 when I interviewed at Microsoft, and they asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I said, well, I'm going to have my own company. And I worked out. I actually did it. But for all in all, I think that to go to this point, it really required a good, solid pedigree of past experience. And so, I felt pretty good about my experience with Weta, Sony, Microsoft, Rockstar. It kind of presented something that was stable for any future clients that we made. And then on top of that, the idea of leaving Microsoft in 2015 was a scary one because it was a good solid paycheck, but I was really excited about doing something different, and I wanted to. I figured now was the time. If I'd rather try and fail at it than never know if it would work out or not.
I feel that for sure.
Well, I think actually. To speak to that point, right now with the tools that are available to you as creatives or technical creatives, or however you think of yourself. I mean, back in my day, Grandpa's time. But when I was working at THQ, you wanted to work in Unreal, for real, and make money off it.
Forget it.
That'll be $1 million.
Good luck. You
owe them $1 million to start. And then they'll tack on extra stuff after that. So the tools are available right now.
For free. And the price point for the headsets is not so high that you're crazy trying to do this.
You develop stuff we're working on a project right now for a Native American project. And that's just for the Samsung Gear. And it's just for a phone.
When you put your
phone in, right? But the vision is strong, and Oculus gave them a grant to work on this thing. I think they got $60,000 on this to get this thing made. All in. But their vision is strong, and they're doing it on their own terms. So the tools you have in front of you are literally right there. So it's now up to everybody. I think almost beholden to everybody to pick up the tools and just start working and you know, there's opportunity here that wasn't there. There's egalitarianism that's available right now that just wasn't there. No one, honestly, in the tech world really gives a shit about your circumstances. You know, I came from like upper middle class, you know, and I worked with people. I worked with people from like third world countries like Ethiopia. You know, no two rocks to bang together. And that particular engineer was a fucking genius, and no one cared where he came from. It's the work he could do. You know, the work she could do. It's the work. It's the effort. It's the creativity. The outside of the box thinking. In fact, I would make the case that working in one of these big companies, you're in this giant box, and they don't want you to get out of the box because you're messing with the vision of the product. And it's the people who are out there by themselves going, wait a minute, why are we doing it like this? How about we just hook this up to that and go, oh shit, that works, okay. And you're not confined by some corporate vision or some kind of, you know, product team.
The norm, yeah.
Well, whatever the norms are. It's a hell of a paint box you have to play with almost no bar to entry, you know? So it's real easy to go, well, who do I look to for inspiration? Where do I go to find out what to do? How do I do this? The technology stuff is up to you to learn. But everything done before, visionary-wise, you know, it's not a news story. It's the same old story. You have to believe in the why. The what gets you up in the morning. You have to have something to get you up in the morning. Otherwise, stay in bed, covers up to your face, and think about it until you have a good reason to get up. We have a good reason to get up because we got something pretty damn cool here.
For sure.
Right? But we know that. Like, I don't have to wonder what I'm going to do today. I got 90 things I could do today. I have to pick out 5 things I know I can get done today. Which is the reason why I like it, because I kept working at these big companies, and I don't know why I was doing half of that stuff. Why are we doing this? This is a stupid idea. I don't like working for other people. I don't. So, yeah, the tools you have are right there. So
digging somebody's gold mine. Yeah, okay. No, that right there was just super duper great. Like, you guys keep helping me personally.
Well, let me ask this question. So you're struggling with you know, the tech, or you're struggling with?
I'm struggling with like scripting, and also balancing, like learning scripting, C# and coding, you know, but more so the logic of coding, and like why you can't just say transform this object and make it rotate 90 degrees and just say that in a sentence, you know, and rather than just, you know, putting it into transform dot rotate dot, you know. And
let me ask you a question then. So there is nobody in this room who has come upon knowledge these days without standing on the shoulders of somebody else. Don't get it twisted that you have to figure all this shit out by yourself. I know much of what I know because I had mentors who at least put me on a path for me to even, I mean, I figured some stuff out, but I had people I could reflect back with. There are people who I was able to kind of take my failures to and go, I don't know. This does not work. Why? I don't know. Yeah. To learn, even, like, I'm not a student, but I'm still a student. There's things he knows and that he teaches me that I have to put aside my ego. I have to put aside what I think I know and be prepared to be wrong. I have to be prepared to be wrong. Ready for it. Expecting to be wrong. I like to think I teach him things. I don't know if I do.
You do.
But it's one of those things where, in this instance, we have no license and cannot afford to think we have all the answers. And as a student in that formal situation, you must find people who have already solved those problems. And you must find, of those people, someone who is willing to sit down with you and go, the way you're being taught is not clicking for you. So let's figure out how to get it to click, make sense, find the metaphor that works, right? And your job is to open up all the doors and windows and go, I know nothing. I know nothing. And I'm being honest about I know nothing, and I want this information cleared up. Can you help me with this information? And it's that vulnerability and that dropping of the ego that will allow the teaching and the learning to happen. But this is just this is my mantra. I have to, because every day isn't every day a completely different day. Yeah. Nothing is ever the same.
Or the next day is the most important day. This is literally all things. I apologize for just interrupting.
That's right.
No, but I asked you a question. I invited you in this whole thing.
But
so.
like everything you just said, like when we missed our bus to get here, like that's what I was literally saying. Like I was literally like I have to literally realize I'm not gonna know, and I felt like me learning like one little line or statement, like, okay, next week I'm going to be able to just come in and I'm going to write that first statement just off memorization, and then it's like, oh, snap, like, where do we go from now? Like, and then I'm like, shut down, and then I'm like, why don't I know? Like, I'm a genius. And then it's like, no, you're not a genius. Like, but I am a genius. And then it's like, no, you're not a genius.
But being a genius is like having a full tank of gas, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't know where you're going with that gas, then you're still just a tank of gas sitting there. So you need a GPS. You need to have a goal, and you need to have someone who's going to teach you how to get there. It's all traveling. Mm-hmm. So I can't. In our relationship, I can't have a problem. I can't have a problem and wonder if CJ knows the answer, but keep it to myself because I don't want to look stupid to CJ. That's too fucking late. Yeah, that ship has sailed. That train has sailed.
Yeah.
So speaking from my own perspective, I have to put down the ego and I have to ask for help and be okay to be where you are. A lot of people. And I include myself in this, always have trouble being where you are with the knowledge you have, the understanding you have, but you have to be where you are. The company has to be where it is. Your educational status has to be what it is right now, not what you wish it was or not what you are afraid it's going to be, where it is right now.
And grow from there and start.
But you have to be real about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be honest about it with yourself and then to your teachers.
True, and it is that metaphor that does stick, because like when you're going through the metaphor and it's like, like they're explaining and it's like you want it to click, and it's like I was just explaining it to her, like it's almost like an octopus. Like you're kind of learning about like 8 different tentacles. Like you're kind of learning a little bit about this, learning about this, a little about this, but you don't know about the octopus. Like the main body of the octopus, to why they even started, to why even this arm started. Why does he need 8 arms to accomplish what task? To grab what thing? So just, oh man, you got, like, I wasn't expecting this. Like, you guys just, like, this was like a sermon to me, because I super just like needed this, like, thanks for the podcast too, but back on track and back on asking questions. So what kind of community do you see VR growing into, and what are the most urgent issues of your fields, or what excites you about the future of VR?
I could just go
for it.
I think the real. I think I touched on this a little bit before, but I don't think VR is going to be a real thing until we are able to find ways of it going beyond a novelty space I can be in and watch and see things. I think if you're able to connect people with people in a real way, then I think you'll have it become a place that can transcend whatever barriers we have. I mean, in this country, we have a lot of us and them, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that comes down to not base nature. These people are evil. These people are fucking dumb. It's got to do with the information they have and the assumptions that they're making about what they think they know. So if we're able to find a way of connecting people and vaulting over those things. Not everybody's going to be alike, but it's not going to be quite so black and white as there are going to be patently evil people on either side, but we're going to take those and eliminate them because they're not worth the time of day. Everybody else is kind of varying shades of gray. So I think VR is a social opportunity. If we can find a way of having that, I think we were talking about that meaningful connection, you know, like I'm spitting all this ridiculous rubbish and you're like, oh, this means something to me, you know, that if we can do this in VR, I mean, you're going to have people having trouble wanting to leave, you know, because if you look at Pixar, which is interesting, Pixar did their first commercials, and it was like, I think, a Listerine bottle, CJ? It was like a Listerine bottle, and it was like fighting tooth decay or something like that. All of it was physical animation, and it was all keyframe. It wasn't mocap. It was all keyframe, but it expressed an idea. And then they did, I think, like gummy lifesavers, and then they went on to did a bunch of commercials. Then they did some shorts and everything else like that. And the first couple of shorts they did were with toys and salt shakers.
The bee?
The
bee one?
The bee, right. Something's Big Day or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there was Red's Big Day, which was like
Red's Big Day.
The tricycle?
Unicycle.
Unicycle, thank you.
Yeah.
And the lamp, Luxo, none of these were human. None of these characters were human. But it was written and executed with such human nuance to it. I didn't need language. I just needed to be able to watch the thing and understand. And I couldn't attribute any creed, race, color, nationality, anything to that unicycle or that toy soldier or that lamp. I still got a human emotion from it. I connected. So the idea that VR needs to go fully photorealistic and fully, you know, I need to watch all the things on your face and everything, that's great. And probably we're going to get there. But I think the step ahead of that is to get us to the point where we can evoke human emotions just back and forth, get the exchange going. And then you could employ that for entertainment, social stuff, gaming, political discourse, negotiations in business, Skype, you know. I mean, we want to do is be around people. You know? No, I just want to talk to them. But just to be in the same room is comforting because we're social animals. We're monkeys that like to be in groups. We feel safer that way. We're comfortable. And I think that if we can find a way of connecting like that, that's what I think VR should go. Now, I don't know what the big company is going to try and do with it. They're going to monetize that stuff, but I think that's what it could do. That's a goal. What do you guys think of that? What do you think, CJ?
Yeah. No, I mean, are we getting low on time?
No,
okay.
I gotta stop talking.
As far as VR is concerned, I feel like I feel like we're in a good spot for VR. I mean, one of the key things about starting the company at this time, and like now with where VR is as a discipline, as a thing, it's really sort of becoming the focus of so many different realms of entertainment. Like, for instance, if you go to any of the conventions now, you go to like GDC or SIGGRAPH or
Can you explain those acronyms?
So, like, GDC is Game Developers Conference. SIGGRAPH is like film and special effects. What else? Even ones that are less focused around CG, like all these different big conventions are focused. Like for instance, internet. There's a Google. Google just had Google Next, and one of their big focus points is what are we doing with VR? And then internet ISPs Like they have conventions for those, and it's like, what are we doing about VR data? Data for VR going through our internet streams, and like, how do we stream content for VR? Like, so much VR is touching on every industry right now, and every industry is looking back at VR. How do we support VR? How do we attack this dragon? It's become like the focal point of so many different industries right now. So many industries and so many of the big companies are really putting so much money into VR development, even without the promise of something in return. Like, a lot of people use the term a gold rush for virtual reality development, because it is sort of a gold rush right now. Like, all the big companies are putting a lot of money into VR development excuse me, in hopes of creating that device that everyone's going to buy and use in their living room space. Like, that's what the big companies are for. That's what they're trying to aim for. They're trying to aim for the device that everybody buys. Meanwhile, all the content creators, all the video game development companies, and all these other companies, and even film, are trying to make VR content because they're trying to be that killer app, that thing that, I must have it, which is also dependent on, obviously, that device that becomes the everyone's household device. But those two are both sort of very big, it's sort of the focus of almost all the industries right now. They're all trying to either be the killer app or the device that's in everybody's living room. And so there's a lot of focus and a lot of money going towards that in so many different areas. And it's great because people like us that want to create content, want to explore and do and realize our dreams, make our dreams into a reality. Yeah. It's a great time for us because now so many companies are investing so much into allowing us to do that. The amazing part is that it's free. Like for instance, excuse me, Unreal, and yes, I'll take. Yeah,
I think this is
I don't care.
New. Yeah, okay.
That's all right. So, like with Unreal and Unity being free, it's created ample opportunity for people like you or me. Just anyone who wants to try and make something can now. Mm-hmm. Back when I first started, and when I know Andrew was just saying, back when we first started, we just didn't have that access. We didn't have Unreal. We couldn't just download Unreal and start making a game from scratch. It wasn't available.
Work on it every day.
In fact, in 2014, one of the things that inspired me to do this was Unreal not only becoming free, but also providing a marketplace. And Unity has the same thing, an asset store, where you can actually go and, if you're not an artist and you can't make your models for your game, you can buy one. You can just go in and spend $5, $10, download something someone else has already made and made available for, put up for sale on the Unity asset store or the Unreal marketplace, and you have assets. You got everything at your fingertips, and it's not insanely expensive to do either. You can do it for fairly cheap, which is amazing. It's an amazing time to be alive right now because of that possibility. Because it, not until the last 3 years that wasn't really possible. You'd like Andrew and I, you'd spend your entire career only being able to access those kind of tools in the environment of working for a company, because that company's the only entity that can afford the $1 million to buy that engine. Yeah. Otherwise, but now it's like, Joe Schmo can download it for free now and have all those same tools and and they can get their friends to help work on it, you can make something and make something great, and just it's democratized that industry, and VR having, the advent of VR happening at the same time means that not only do we have all those tools that are our fingertips to do whatever now, but we can also go into VR and create something for VR as well, for the VR space as well. So it's a great wave that's happening right now. That VR is able to ride as well. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Like, I don't know if I can comment on it, or you want to comment on that, but definitely, like, I even think it's I know I was trying to get a mouse, work on getting a mouse so I can use it on my laptop more accessible at home, but even just, even you can go into perspective mode, create something, drop a cube, and if you have an Oculus or a Vive, you can literally go look at it. And if you wanted to just make a cube go up and down, that would be your cube. But somebody that's just starting, even me, I'm a little bit. I can make a cube in a plane and make it go up and down, But even that, making that for my own self is a huge step progression in tech. You know what I'm saying? It's that putting that step through that door. So I think that's great. Did you have anything you want to elaborate on that? I don't know how much time we have, but
what's the time check on this?
Okay. Yeah, well, in wrapping everything up, and again, thank you guys, gentlemen, for your time. Everything you guys have said definitely has helped me personally, and I'm sure it's going to, help a lot of people. So, in all, last questions. If you could give advice to 18-year-old you, or 22, I'm 22-year-old. So if you could give advice to 18-year-old or 22-year-old you, what would that advice be?
You want to start?
Yeah. It's one of those things where if I were to appear in a doorway and start talking to my 18-year-old self, as my 18-year-old self, would I listen? Man, you don't know me. You don't know my struggles. What would I say? I think honestly, the thing that everybody, especially, I'm 45. So 18-year-old me didn't have all this weirdness that social media has, the distractions, all the information, right? For me, too much information is a bad thing. I have enough to be getting upset about all day. I don't need more information going, oh, well, if that pisses you off, how about another 15 other things that's going to set you off badly? So I think the 18-year-old of today is not necessarily, in many ways, living in the same world as the 18-year-old when, I was, 1991. Why does that sound so old? But I don't think so. But no internet, no email, no Facebook, none of that existed. None of that.
Not even the internet.
No, internet didn't exist.
It existed, but only for really rich people.
When I was in college, the only way to talk to other people, you had to get on the VAX system, which was this kind of intercollegiate, mainframe, and you would just type in text, and they would type text back to you. It was primitive. It's primitive. But I think, trying to sound wise now, I think it's so easy for you to worry about what's going to happen next. And I think the problem is that it's not important what happens next. I would tell the 18-year-old self to really focus on what you're doing right now. Whatever it is, now is the only moment that matters. Now is the gift. That's why they call it the present.
There's a book called that, The Gift of Now.
Yeah.
The gift.
It was also in Kung Fu Panda. Everything in my life is animation references. But I think I would pay more attention to, dreams are great. They can be that guiding star, but you still have to deal with right now. And I think I had way too much stress about, but what's going to happen next? And I don't know, all this thing down the road. It's energy you put into it now. It's the rest you take now. It's the investment you put in right now, because you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So why worry about it, really? They say, plan like you're gonna live forever? Or what is the phrase?
Playing like you're gonna die tomorrow.
No, that's not it. It's like,
Oh.
live like you're gonna die tomorrow, but plan like you're gonna live forever, or something like that. So it's like that kind of thing. Like, put the pieces out to do the work, but you have to be awake to the moment right now. And I don't know if my 18-year-old self would have understood that. My 45-year-old self understands that. So I know that's not very VR related, but
that's definitely life related, which is.
But that actually goes back. That actually goes back to finding a way to capture those moments and that awareness. If VR is gonna be a thing, because otherwise, if you can't make it real and reactive and malleable, and reflective, then it's just going to be a cold place. It's going to be a cold place.
Not that fun. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. 22-year-old me, I was just starting to enroll into art school. 1999. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, because I'm 40 now.
Yeah, you're 5 years younger than me.
Yeah. So anyway.
1996.
I was thinking about this the whole time he was answering. Like, I went to a for-profit art school and art institute, and it was really frustrating for me because at the time I didn't really know enough about any of it to know if I was getting a good education. But I realized very quickly, once I got my first job in the industry, how lacking my education was. In the first year in the industry, I learned way more than I did in art school all 4 years. And I realized very quickly that the skills that I learned in art school really didn't, like the actually being in the field, actually using the tools in the field, that not that it was a waste, because there was really good principles that it taught me, but I was I learned very quickly. I was very frustrated at how little they taught me compared to my self-education in the field. In the first couple of years, I really had to relearn everything. And I think my lesson to my 18-year-old or 20-year-old or 22-year-old self would be to, because another key thing, and another reason why, just to be a little bit more specific, is at that same art school, they told me, do not do motion capture. Avoid it. Avoid motion capture. Avoid it like a plague. It will steal away your artistic expression. It'll steal your jobs. You're no longer going to be artistic. If you get into motion capture, you're just going to be a tech head, and you don't want that. Like there was a lot of negativity towards motion capture.
Stupidest thing.
And it's true. Well, I mean, a lot of art schools still do that. I'm not going to name names, but it's not hard to find any art school out here that will say, yeah, don't waste your time with motion capture. And the thing is that motion capture for me, the first year I learned it in 2004, the next job I had, I had a 100% pay increase because I knew how to use motion capture effectively.
First time I learned motion capture, the next job after that, I was working on an Academy Award-winning feature film in Australia.
Yeah, and I was working on an Academy Award-winning film in
So people who
New
say
Zealand.
they know don't know shit.
Yes. I mean, it went from...
I know. No, you don't, because you said you know.
Yeah, both of us had the same exact experience. The first time we learned motion capture and motion builder, the next thing we worked on was an Academy Award-winning thing.
What are the odds of that?
And for me, myself, like, the next job I took after that, I doubled that salary as well. Like, I quadrupled my salary capability from the point where I didn't touch motion capture in a matter of a year and a half. And it's the potential really opened up, and it's because motion capture as a discipline, at the time and still today, it's sort of the future of where animation's going. It allows companies to work more efficiently and whatever. But a lot of it is just keep an open mind to learn new tools, learn new ways of doing things, learn the engines that companies are using. For instance, Unreal and Unity. Don't become a dinosaur. Don't stick to one software and say, oh no, this is the only software I'm going to learn. I don't want to learn anything else. I don't need to learn anything else, because your salary will become stagnant. You're not ever going to make more than a certain amount if that's the case.
I think it's very easy to get stuck in your own, I know what I know, and that's what I know. I think we all know somebody out there who's like, no, man, I don't need to know that. I already know a bunch of stuff. And he's like, you get left behind. We're moving pretty quick right now. So it's not a question of you got to move as fast as everybody else, but you have to find the people doing what you want to do, learn everything you can from them.
Yes.
And that's if you want to be an ice skater, or if you want to be an audio engineer, or if you want to be an animator, or if you want to be, anything. And I think that's
VR director.
A VR director. That's the thing. Find out who's doing the cool stuff and literally become
contact them.
Look. Okay. So that's the thing. Okay, I just figured it out. I know so many people, and CJ just talked about going to Blizzard, just showing up at the front door. And it's amazing how many companies actually respond to that. And you'll at least get some feedback, if not maybe an opportunity. You kind of go, I'm so insanely passionate about this thing. You guys are doing that thing. I want you to teach me. What do I have to do? Get you coffee?
Yeah.
I'll make some coffee. I'll make some coffees.
Put forth that effort. Put forth that.
So many people never do that, and they never get anywhere. But I got my job at Sony working in Mocap because I would not shut up about working in production. I wouldn't. I found anybody and everybody who would listen to me, and I would not go away. I was respectful, but I would not go away with my demo reel and my new ideas and my new piece I worked out, and I talked to everybody, and I would not stop. Oh my God. The job at Happy Feet, attitude is everything. The job I got at Happy Feet, when I was first offered it, went away. Like, I didn't even get to start. Like, they said, you got the job. Don't go anywhere. We're going to call you back in a little bit. I waited up. They're calling me from Australia, and then they tell me, man, I don't know what to tell you. The job went away. Well, between now and then, it's been an hour. What happened? Well, we had a meeting, and, it's not you. It's just the department doesn't think we need anybody else, so we're going to kind of shut that down. And I could have thrown a fit and flipped the table and called everybody, wow, this is bullshit. I need a job. I was like, okay, hey, you know what? No problem. And I kept a positive attitude, but I did not go away, and I kept every 2-3 weeks just send them a little email. Hey, how you doing? And I'm still here. What's going on? And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, we should get together. I'm going to be in LA. You're going to be in LA? Yeah, cool. And I got together, and they're like, job came back. We realized our numbers were wrong, and the reason why, we're just going to give you the job because you were super cool about it, and we felt terrible about how the whole thing happened. So your attitude was the reason why. So then I got to go live in Australia for a year to do this feature film, working with George Miller, who directed all the Mad Maxes and all the Babe Pigs in the City and Lorenzo's Oil, which was another one he did. It's George Miller. It's attitude. It's just attitude. And I was working with a multicultural crew. I had dudes from Nigeria. I had dudes from France. I had dudes from Sweden, England, New Zealand, Australia. I mean, everybody. And everybody was there. I mean, you don't get... Here's the thing about attitude is you show up with that can-do attitude, it becomes infectious. People recognize can-do. Can-dos want to hang out together, right? I can't do it doesn't have a lot of friends. The person who says, I won't do it, has no friends. But if you come and go, I can't do it, but I want to hang out with the can-dos, you will become infected with their can-do attitude. So if you're working on a tough project for 6 months, you want to be surrounded by people who are can-dos and nice, who know how to play with other children. Just nice, not an asshole. Because I'm sitting next to this guy for 6, 8 months, 12, 18 months. We're going to have to get along somehow.
Yeah.
You know? So, attitude.
And opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah. But you got to go for it. It's not going to come to you.
Yep.
You got to go out there and snatch it. It's real. That's real. 100%. And we both live that.
I didn't became the audience. Hold on. I'm so wrapped. I didn't have about 5, 6 comments or commentary. My bad that I wanted to say back to each and everything that you guys were saying. I'm ready to go start Microsoft. My own Microsoft.
All right. But I mean,
oh man! But thanks for you guys are dropping diamonds, rubies, like all gems, like for real. Like I don't know if it was me personally that I needed to really come here and hear this, but I wasn't expecting this, because I was really, really going through it before this, like on some real, like, can I even be in the tech world? Like, what, like?
Well, no, stop.
It's
whether you think you can or cannot. You're probably right. So you have to get your head right.
Say, I can.
I can. I will.
I can and I will.
Because like you said it yourself, and everyone goes, I think I can do. Am I crazy? No, you're not crazy. You're basically you're having healthy amount of self-doubt, and now what do I do now? I can sit in this and wallow, or now there's a plan of action. So you know what you need to know. Now your responsibility to the universe is go do that.
Which is watching my tutorial video, which was something we've been talking about. But I need to go watch my. Yes, like
come up with a project that's going to force you to learn some shit. That's what you need to do. You need to go to someone else and go, how do I learn this? The easiest way is to get in the crucible and try to do something. So watch the videos, learn everything, take your notes. Now do that.
We are doing
that.
Yeah,
we're doing. That's the
do the thing that scares the shit out of you. Like, what am I doing? You're on the right track.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so what's the? Oh, I remember the last. To wrap it up. Just if anybody wants to find your work or contact you guys, is there any way people can contact you? Or
mocapnow.com
is the Mocap Now is the website. My email address is ander@mocapnow.com. I'll put it out there. So if anybody had any questions about anything we talked about, you can feel free to hit me up. I like to keep him roped off because he's busy and I want to pick him up. But no, hit me up and if it's for CJ, I'll make sure he gets the email and he can answer the questions and stuff like that. But a lot of this is about community. We believe deeply in Mocap Now being part of the Creative Hub, and it really, really is that way. It has to be that way. We have to lean on each other and learn from each other and benefit from each other's wisdom and also benefit from each other's ignorance. I don't know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And you get people circle the wagons that way, and I think that's essential. So let's keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, thank you. Yeah, again, thank you. Can we get a clap it up for Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe and give us a rating or comment if you enjoyed this content. This episode was brought to you by the City of Seattle's Office of Economic Development and SIXR. Mixed and mastered by Joshua Duchesne. Please check the show notes for more information. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, we hope we've inspired you to keep exploring your own journey.